Thanks for tuning in to Healthy Planet One, where we discuss healthy living from experts in each of their fields. This is your host, Patricia Starr.
And your co-host, Kimberly Knock. Today's guest on Healthy Planet One is our very own Anne Bowie. She is a superstar here in Sarasota. She's the executive director of the Jericho Project, which is a 501c organization, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. She's also a fellow of the American Institute of Certified Planners and Sustainability Expert. She's really working hard to create diversity of housing types and to help solve the attainable housing crisis here. So welcome. Oh, and for the Alice population, she'll tell you all about this. So welcome today, Anne. Patricia and I are really happy to have you on the show again.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And it's wonderful to be able to share with you all.
Yeah. So why talk to us about the housing crisis and help our listening audience know why do you say we have a housing crisis, and describe that more?
Well, I think what, we talk about, just when we say housing crisis, people go, oh, well, what's the problem? There's all kinds of new houses being built. There's all kinds of old houses around, and how come this is a problem? It doesn't look like a problem to me. Well, it looks like a real problem because what's happening is people cannot afford to live in the houses that are now being constructed. The price of construction has gotten so crazy that what we're doing is building new houses for an international market, building houses for people who are well able to pay for their housing either outright or with, money from wherever. So the real problem is that we have a whole lot of people who cannot afford housing the way it is now.
Well, a lot of people are paying a lot for their rent, and that chews up a lot of their disposable income as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I was reading last night that Elizabeth Warren thinks you should go with a 50-30-20 kind of budget. 50% is everything you need for necessary. 30% of your budget should be for those things that you want to spend on, and 20% should go for savings. Well, the truth is that a lot of people are spending more than 50% just for housing.
Right.
And that's not going to make it. That's just not going to make it.
Absolutely. So what are you in the Jericho Project? How are you working to address this and inform?
Well, we've really realized that the way we're most successful is when we partner with others to provide affordable and sustainable permanent housing. And so what we did in February is we partnered to put on the Hopeful Housing Summit. It was held on February 18th, and the good news is we didn't even know COVID was in our about to attack. So we actually, it was probably one of those last events that was held where we weren't worrying about that. But we had 18 different local speakers from different organizations, both public and private, address what the issues are about housing. And then we had two national organizations, or one state organization and one national organization represented. So we heard from people like the senior manager of human services with the Sarasota County Health and Human Services Department. We heard from the Suncoast Partnership to End Homelessness, the Homeless Coalition down in Port Charlotte, the Department of Children and Family Services. We heard from local neighborhoods, both Arlington Park and Park East neighborhoods. And we had a historical speaker talk to us. We had Ian Black Real Estate there. We had two virtual speakers who were city commissioners. And what we did is we provided the information from the affordable housing workshop where they were concerned with this issue. Then we had a private real estate investor. We had the Senior Friendship Center talk about their solutions. And then we even had, of course, the Jericho project come in and talk about what we're doing. So, and then our national speakers were included. Our national speaker was AARP, who came and spoke to us about accessory dwelling units and how those incredibly important those are for our neighborhoods. And then the one who was the keynote speaker of all was a national speaker. She was from Minneapolis, and her name was Lee Blons, and she was speaking about what they have done in Minneapolis over a 20-year period. And the reason we brought all these people together is because what's happening in other places could happen here in Sarasota.
So tell us a little bit more about that. What do you mean what's happening in other places could happen here?
Yeah, maybe you could describe the population that needs housing choices. What are those, and bring that down to, like, what do you see in this area?
Okay, so what we see in this area, in Sarasota and Manatee County, which has the same area median income, according to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, the median income is $70,900. Okay, and that is and that is a lot more. Remember, that's median, not average, right? But they look at people that have the number of people that are in a household and the amount of rent and number of bedrooms that can be provided. So, for instance, if you are spending 30% of the median income, right, and you have 4 people in your household, then you should be able to afford a rent of $864. Well, the truth is that most people aren't going to have that. Maybe 50%, they might have 50%. They might be spending 50% of their income, in which case, or they might be making 50% of that median income, in which case they're making $35,450, right? In which case their rent would be $921. Even if you're making 120% of the median income of, say, $85,000, your median income, your rent limit should be more like $2,012. So really, most of our rents in our area are way higher than what the income limit and rents are supposed to be in a world of social equity.
Well, you can hardly live anywhere here in Sarasota for $900 a month. I mean, so I would think that the population you're talking about that needs housing choices, or it's a lot different than what people really think. It's almost everybody. I mean, the average working person that even has like a decent career, right?
Exactly. Right. And so that's getting back to the Elizabeth Warren idea. If you're going to, let's just say you have $2,000 a month to spend. Well, if you're spending 50% on necessary items and you're going to pay the rent, you're going to pay the electric bill and the water bill as well as your rent, then that means you really can't afford much more than $800 or $900 a month or $700 a month. So that's kind of the sweet spot that we don't have housing for. But it is a sweet spot that we could provide housing for if we would expand the ability of people to have additional homes on their single-family lots.
Yeah, so talk about that more, because that's very intriguing. I remember you talking to us all about that.
Yeah, so what we did after the Helpful, Hopeful Housing Summit, which was the February 18th event, and we do, by the way, have a YouTube video that you can find and see the people speaking if you Google it. But what we did after that is we created an action agenda as a result of that effort, the summit. And we did this because we believe everyone deserves a permanent and safe place to live that is within their budget. So we call it the HHH Campaign 2020 Accessory Dwelling Unit Campaign. And we are going to build a wide network of multi-sector partners. We're going to help the 9 cities and 2 counties in streamlining their regulations about accessory dwelling units. And then we're partnering in a design competition. And then we're going to figure out how to create a unique public-private financing pool and hopefully show up with 35 existing homeowners building new homes and leasing them back to new residents for $1 a square foot. So that's our big picture vision of our action agenda.
So for the people that don't understand the accessory dwelling units, because I didn't, so let them know exactly what that is, because you're talking about it, but they might not get the picture.
So an accessory dwelling unit is essentially an extra little house in the back of a single family yard.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's called the mother-in-law suite. Sometimes it's called a guest cottage. Sometimes it's called other things, but basically,
and that's not currently allowed here in Sarasota. Is that right?
So it's not currently allowed in most of the neighborhoods of the city of Sarasota. Since October, which was a big deal, it is now allowed in many of the single-family neighborhoods in Sarasota County, not more than 750 square feet, and it must meet other regulations. It's not yet available in Manatee County. It's available in the city of Bradenton, and then the other 7 cities that are inside of Sarasota County and Manatee County have different requirements. So it's kind of all over the map who can do it and who cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're doing is we've already applied for a grant from the AARP, which has a wonderful resource, by the way. This is another thing for people to Google, which is called the ABCs of ADUs, and then AARP with it. So cute, right? But it's an outstanding, it's really AARP that understands that if we want to age in place and, not give up our homes, then an accessory dwelling unit on our single family home site will be a wonderful place for us to get extra income and have company. It might be an extra place for us to move into. We could move into a smaller unit, rent out our larger unit. And so this is something that makes sense, and yet we have very reluctant regulators instead of champions. And what we're trying to do is shine a light on all the different kind of regulations that we have in our area and put it on a website so that people can kind of have a virtual tour on how do I really get an accessory dwelling unit. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason it's important from that side, there's 2 sides to it. One side is, why can't I have one? You can't have one because the regulations and the process are so cumbersome and so complicated and so confusing that, you really can't get here from there. It's like if I want a fence, if I want to build a fence on my yard, I call up the fence company, and the fence company comes and he puts a fence in. And on the way, he went and he picked up a permit at the city, and I don't know what he had to do, but he did what he did, and I pay the fee, and it's done, right? Mm-hmm. If I want an accessory dwelling unit, there's nobody to call except me, myself, and I. And I don't have to call one person. I have to call multiple people. And I don't have to go through one process. I have to go through multiple processes. And I don't even know what all those processes are. And then I have to figure out who's going to build it and how I'm going to pay for it and all that. So by the time that's all said and done, it's easier just to sell your house and walk out and move into a rental. So what we're trying to do with our grant proceeds and with this campaign 2020 accessory dwelling units is make it easy for people to go through the process. Now,